to make sure. Okay, now I see it's recording. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share presentation. Okay, can you confirm you can see the slides?
Yep.
Great.
Awesome. The
Um,
time is yours. Thank you, Rebecca.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for turning it over to me. Hi, I'm Rebecca Adams. I'm the program coordinator for the Genomics Summer Research for Magnificence internship program. And I just wanted to first thank Cody for inviting me to come and speak to you and to share about our program. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to to come check this out. All right.
And are you okay if we just holler to questions to stop you? Is that okay? Or would you
Yes,
prefer?
like you can ask questions throughout. I think I will be able to throughout the slides, I believe like a lot of those questions will be answered, but we also have some time dedicated at the end for questions. So I'm informal though. You can feel free if you're really dying to know something right then and there, just let me know and I will answer it. Okay, so like I said, I'm Rebecca Adams, and I've been with this program for a little over a year now. So I've coordinated the program, two summer cohorts now. And I also wanted to let you know that Gloria Slattum is the director of our program. She wasn't able to join us today, but I just wanted to let you know she is the director and she has been with the program since 2019. That's when it was founded. And she's the best advocate for students and for science and mentorship and making sure people have opportunities to learn and grow. Um, and that's what we're here for. So I wanted to just give a shout out to her and let you know who she is. So I'm going to keep this simple. Our goal for this workshop is to remove barriers for you to apply to internships. And what I mean by this is not only um, our particular internship, that's a very specific type of internship, but what I share with you today, some of it will also be applicable to any type of research internship you might be interested in. So I hope this information will be useful regardless if you decide to apply to our program. Also, we highly encourage, even if you apply to our program, to not just stop at one program, but to look at many options and to apply to many because they are competitive. So here's what we're going to chat about today. First, we're just going to talk about what is genomics. Two, we're going to give an overview of the program. And three, talk more about components of an application. And then we'll go to Q&A of two of our alumni who've been through a program. One was in 2024, one in 2025. And then if we have time, we'll go through resources, but I also do plan to send these resources out to you following this presentation. So don't worry, I'll make sure that you get all the things that we touch on today. So I'm happy to ask this question to those who are in the audience. Um, what is genomics? Do any of you want to take a guess or share if you already know?
Yes.
I can hear.
The studying of genes.
Okay.
Study genetics? I don't know.
No, that's close. Genetics and genomics often get um, kind of crossover, kind of seen as the same thing and used interchangeably. They are different though. Any other things you wanted to add there in Idaho? Okay, I'm gonna give you the answer. It's the study of all a person's genes, so the entire genome, and the interactions of those genes with one another and also the environment. So genetics, which I think you're probably more familiar with and see that term a lot, that is, it focuses on individual, like one person's individual genes and their effects on traits, diseases, and genetic disorders. So I thought it might be helpful to share, here are some examples of what what you can do with genomics. So maybe this will help give you a little better idea instead of abstractly. So examples can be genomic testing and to personalize medicine. That is actually quite a specialized and important field. So something like seeing what kind of like class of medication would be useful for you, your body, your system, maybe a dosage that you need to titrate or do something different. That can so it can be used like in a clinic setting. We have genome editing technologies like CRISPR. Um, have you all heard of CRISPR before? It's kind of a more recent thing that they use, but you can use that to edit genes and correct faulty genes. Also, you can identify genetic risk factors for disease, identify genomic variants that affect population groups. So certain ethnicities or backgrounds, maybe there's something that happens that's differently than other, differentiates them from other groups. Maybe there's something that can be targeted to help intervene with their health issues. And I wanted to share just some career paths. So clearly you can be a clinician, you can go to med school, become specifically a geneticist. You can also consider ethical, legal, and social implications for genomics. So that would be like, we have the ability to do these things with technology and with research. Does it mean we should necessarily be doing gene editing or doing certain things across different populations? So how do we have good stewardship over the data, and how do we navigate maybe some ethical considerations that would have with this with these advances? Also, computational genomics or being a data scientist. Computational genomics is goes hand in hand with wet lab and being in the lab, doing, pipetting, things like that. Um, Once you actually perform experiments and collect data, you're going to need to know how to analyze it, right? So it's very helpful if you also had background or had some experience or learned programming. And so you're able to analyze the data that you do have. There are individuals and, plenty of labs that's all they do is computational. And then there's some that might be hybrid, some that you're in the wet lab, and maybe you also have components of computational alongside it. And you could be a genomics researcher, a clinical and lab geneticist, and a genetic counselor. That's something that requires a master's level. That's a terminal degree. And that's something where you would work hand in hand with clinicians, and you would actually meet with families, you would meet with patients, help them understand maybe their options of getting genetic testing, or if you get genetic testing results, what do those mean? And try to break it down so it's a bit easier to understand, but also that they have an advocate, they have someone that helps walk them through that process. So I'm going to just give a few facts about the program itself. It lasts for 10 weeks, and in 2026, it's going to start on May 27th and run through July 30th. It's a paid internship, and you're actually considered a visiting scholar, so an employee of the University of Utah. We provide on-campus housing, and we provide $5,500 stipend, and that's usually paid out in 3 increments. Um, if there's an issue, if there's something where you want it to get paid out differently, that's something we can do on a case-by-case basis. And each individual who is in the program is paired with a research mentor or like a principal investigator in the lab. And then also you get a near peer mentor. So someone like who might be in graduate school but is working on a program, working in that lab, and they know the ins and outs of a lab, and they can help you navigate and onboard. And they're usually with you the most when you're conducting research. And I would say overall, the mission of our program is we want to give opportunities from people of all backgrounds to be part of these fields of biomedicine, health sciences, and STEM. We want to, yes, provide you with an outstanding research experience because we're an R1 institution. We also want to pair that with professional development and help you explore other options you might haven't considered before. And we also make it a point to really establish and have a welcoming environment where everyone is welcome, and we want you to bring your whole self to this program. We want you to feel like you belong here, that you can feel like you have an identity as a scientist, and that we appreciate you as a whole, not only you for, your abilities and your science background maybe, but also for personality traits, for other cultural backgrounds that you bring, that it just makes it a very wonderful experience to get to know each other and to connect along the way. So basically connecting within the lab, connecting through workshop experiences, professional development experiences, but also we have opportunities outside the lab to connect, socialize, and things that are, let's say, non-academic. The eligibility requirements are that you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and you're enrolled in a four-year college starting fall of 2026. So making sure you're still, enrolled even after the program. And then we give priority to rising juniors and seniors. However, we have accepted sophomores, so please don't let that deter you. If you would like to and you are motivated to apply, please do, or please reach out to me if you want to talk about it before you take that next step of applying. And this is what I think is a standout for our requirements. We don't require that you have research experience already. Um, if you do have research experience, we definitely want you to let us know about that, like in your personal statement. Um, but if you don't, that's okay too, because really, like I said before, our goal is really to take all levels of abilities and give you chances where maybe other programs have a kind of a baseline requirement of certain classes, certain labs, and that might make some individuals ineligible. And we really want to have a mix of all levels because that's how we learn and grow, and we can actually take you to the next level. Sorry about that. Um, and then if you can let us know that you actually have a strong interest in genomics, bioscience, medicine, and you plan on pursuing graduate school or med school after your four-year degree. So this is really a pathway to that next step. So we um, and another thing I would emphasize is even though you're with us for 10 weeks, we are actually supportive of you and your academic journey and what you want to do past the summer internship. And so we do this by, we can still consult with you about, what your options are. We can provide letters of recommendation, and those kinds of things. So even if you want to, you can't really get rid of us afterward because we really care about and are invested in your outcomes and invested in being part of the support system for you along the way. Here's some expectations, basically 30 hours a week of research. This can be within the lab. If it's computational, it might just be in front of your computer or at the lab building. 10 hours of academic or professional development. And we require oral presentations. So at some point during the summer, you will present a 20-minute presentation about your research with some slides and just kind of share what is your research, what is um, your hypothesis, your question, what are you trying to do, and kind of what your status is. And also, some of you may have heard of like scientific research posters. We give you opportunity to create and present that at the undergraduate summer research symposium, and also a chance to travel to the SACNAS uh, conference, which stands for Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science. And that is also opportunity. So you can actually have opportunities outside of the summer to connect, network with others, and share the research that you've done during the summer. Okay, I'm going to pause there because I just gave you a lot of information, and all this information is also on our website. Are there any questions at this time?
How many people are typically accepted into the program?
Oh, great question. This year we plan on accepting 10.
Are most of those from in-state in University of Utah, or are there, do you designate a certain number that you want to get from outside the university?
That's a great question as well. Um, we typically have maybe roughly half will be from in-state or the University of Utah. Last year we had five from the University of Utah and two from Utah State and UVU. So we really try to encourage people to apply locally. And that's also related to funding that we receive, where it might be from, say, state government or some requirements are that we have, you know, that we really emphasize the local economy and growth and education in Utah. But being in Idaho, that's not going to like rule you out for being a top candidate at all.
I was going to say about only 25% of our student population is actually native Idahoan,
Okay.
and the next greatest percentage comes from Utah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, and that would be interesting. So it sounds like your home institution is BYU-I, but you're originally like kind of your home base is Utah. Okay. That's really good to know. And that there's an opportunity to let us know that as well in the application. Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide here. So, applications to internships requires a lot of preparation and organization, and so we want to help you with that process. Here are the main components of an application. You have the main online application. You have a personal statement, which is something original, something that you create, and you have letters of recommendation. academic transcripts, and your resume or CV. So I'm going to focus mainly on the personal statement and letter of rec. I'm going to do a quick rundown of what we have in the main application. The components are basic information like contact information, demographics, eligibility criteria, your school, your major, list of courses and labs taken. And I will say that some of the demographics that we ask for are optional. So you can choose there's a drop-down option saying prefer not to answer. And I also wanted to let you know that the selection committee does not get any demographic information. So it's, let's say, an equal playing field, if you will. We're not taking that into consideration when we're selecting. Personal statement is very important component because that really gives us a chance to know who you are, what's your motivation, what's your path. And the tricky thing is that we only give you a page to do it. And we know that that's difficult to do. So it's something that you want to take time and thought as you prepare and to really highlight what makes you stand out from other people. So we welcome, you know, being unique, being you, being genuine. Make sure it's relevant to the actual, internship or your path that you want to take. Please be specific um, in what you share, and enthusiasm doesn't hurt. You really can tell the tone of the personal statement. It definitely comes through if you're enthusiastic, if you are really motivated, and interested. And then I would say one of the more important things is how does this internship in genomics, how will that actually help you reach your long-term goals? Um, so like it shows us that you gave some thought and that it actually like it would be a good fit for you to have this opportunity. And I will also say some individuals who come may not know their long-term goal. They may think, I do want to go to grad school, or I really like science, or I really want to be I think I want to be a physician, but I haven't done much research, so I want to explore. That's perfectly fine. But let us know where you're at on that process or in that process. And and if this is something that you want to get experience and maybe this experience and the connections you make may help you make a decision or help you get closer to knowing what you want to do next, that's okay too. So I'm just putting the questions up here that we ask you for the personal statement. So basic one, why are you interested? Number two, what are your future goals and how, this is going back to what I just mentioned, how will this program help you reach those goals? Please describe any past research experience in general and your scientific interest in the genomics field. And then reflecting on your personal background, describe maybe some challenges or barriers you faced in pursuing science or medicine, and how has this shaped you and your motivation and commitment to these fields. For example, it doesn't have to be related to science, but just sharing maybe access to education or access to research or lack of access to research, or maybe something that a personal story you had that really made you think differently about what it is you want to do or what you feel you're meant to do. So that helps us get a better idea of who you are and what your motivation is.
Can I ask a
And
quick question?
yeah, please do.
So when you get that I know you mentioned that you want in that personal statement to be genuine and obviously honest.
Mm-hmm.
But for the and I say this because I serve on uh, on a committee that selects for
Right.
internships as well.
Okay.
So can you speak to, the main criteria of student that you're highly interested in inviting to participate in this based off of um of the personal statement? Like, so for example, when we read people's personal statements, we want to select for people where we know that this research is going to be critical for them pursuing graduate, studies in a
Right.
research related field. Is that similar to what you all might be selecting for, or?
That's a good question. The research that you might be doing, that you will do in this program does not need to dictate your future research goals, like your specific research question, maybe. Like that is okay if there's not really any relation between what you conduct research doing or what you do for your research project during the summer versus what you may do in graduate school. Um, but um, it's helpful if you're wanting to get that experience so you know, let's say, how to do research, how to be a scientist, what steps does it take, what kind of attributes does it take. Um, will this and the types of things that you learn as you progress during the 10 weeks should be able to translate into going to medical school, going to grad school. And um, research is always something that you need to have, whether it's grad school or medical school or MD, PhD, they're always looking for your research experiences. So what is helpful is, say you already have a lot of experience in a wet lab and doing biological experiments. Um, you can share with us, this is what I do. I have a lot of experience. I'm very familiar with dissecting certain animal models, and maybe you want to get more experience with that and maybe further your skill set. Or on the flip side, you might say, you know what, I want to actually look more into computational research. And that's where my interest is, or I need to beef that up because I really think that can complement my wet lab skills. So if you can tie it together and say, like, what is your motivation? And that is really, really helpful for us.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Um, and letter of recommendation, we we require one letter of recommendation, but you can have up to three. And the purpose of this is really someone who's going to assess your skills and abilities and potential. And because this is a research internship, the I would highly recommend that you're getting a recommendation for someone who knows your skills and your background and maybe worked with you closely. So maybe a faculty or a professor in one of the science classes. Um, if you don't have a lot of background in science, then you might need to choose someone else. But having basic, science coursework is really helpful coming into this. But we really want someone who's going to help us understand you as a person and what your potential is and give context to all the other things that we read. What as a selection committee, um, we emphasize is this is a holistic process. We we aren't just looking at your GPA. That does not tell us who you are. It tells us that you were able to take tests really well and you probably worked really hard. But sometimes with certain abilities or opportunities, you just may not make the grade, so to speak, but that doesn't mean that you're not motivated, that you aren't capable, that you can't learn. Maybe you're better at hands-on learning than test taking. So it's okay if you don't have like the highest GPA. We're looking at all the things like letters of recommendation. What do those individuals think about your skills and abilities, and do they think this is a good fit for you? And so that's more of what we're looking for. And for letters of recommendation, what you would do is actually when you fill out the application online, there's a place for you to put a first and last name and email of the recommender, and then those emails automatically generate and go to those individuals. So you don't need to send those out yourself. We make sure those get to those individuals. It's really up to you though to track like, have they submitted those letters. And that's something we can always let you know if you reach out to us if your recommender submitted. Okay, I'm going to pause. I have time for one or two questions if you want, and then we're going to start some questions for our panelists. So is there one or two questions that I can answer before we move forward? Okay.
Can we,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
can we just access the application through the website or where do we get this?
Yes, yes. The application is on our website, and I don't know if that was sent to you already, but I did send Cody the information and the links. And yeah, it's on our website on the homepage, smack in the middle, top middle. So yeah, it's there, and it's something that you actually can fill out, and you don't have to do it all in one sitting. Most people probably don't. Um, and it gives you a code, a passcode. So if you want to save it and come back, you can do that. Um, yeah. Any other question?
What are some examples of research that students have done?
That is actually a great question. I'm gonna use the student panel to help answer, because then they can give you um their what they did for their research. So if you don't mind, hold on to that thought, and we'll cover that when they share their experiences. So, okay, I can't see the screen. I'm going to actually stop sharing for a moment to make sure everyone's, yay! Ziting Zhu is here. Thanks for joining, and Jillian Young are here. So grateful you guys can be here and share your experiences with GSRM. So I'm going to put the questions up on the screen just so everybody can reference. So Jiting was an intern just this past summer, and Jillian was an intern in 2024. So I'm just going to put the questions. Can I get a confirmation that you all can see the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you for joining us. I would love let's just start with let us know where you go or where you went to school, what's your major, and what is your professional goal. We'll start with Ziting.
Hi everyone. So my name is Zuting Su. I'm second year student studying biology at the University of Utah. And then my future goal is that I'm considering either doing an MD, PhD, or MD program.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jillian. What about you?
I'm Jillian. I just graduated in December last year from Utah State University with my major in biotechnology. I'm currently working at the Huntsman Cancer Institute in their clinical trials department, but I'm hoping in the future to go more towards genetic counseling.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Let's stay with Jillian. Can you tell us what sparked your interest in doing research and what challenges did you face early on?
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from Idaho. I'm from Jerome, Idaho, if you've heard of it. So I came from a pretty strong agriculture background. So I guess kind of my early exposures with research were from like raising livestock. So, selecting for genetics because, better genetics are going to be for, lead to better animals and better production. I would say my interest kind of peaked after I started school at Utah State University. I was able to join a molecular genetics research lab my freshman year, and there we worked on finding different genetic mutations that led to beef quality differences. So I ended up in the College of Agriculture in that sort of research department. I would say kind of my initial challenge was just kind of getting involved. I feel like it's really scary to actually like take that first step in, joining a lab or, becoming involved in research. Like I remember like being terrified to like cold call, my now PI of 4 years, just asking for a position in the lab because at this point I had zero research experience. Like I didn't even know what a micropipette was. And so I would say that was kind of scary. And then like that initial like first year or so when you're getting started, you feel very out of place. Um, just, because it's all learning, all new. But through the challenges, I've really enjoyed my time in research, and I think it has really led me to where I am today.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Ziting. What about you? What sparked your interest in research?
Um, so I really like when I was in taking biology classes, like I can remember maybe middle school, and then I fall in love biology, and then until I went to the high school, actually it's a Logan High School, and then I started to learn more deeply in the AP Bio. From that, um, I was thinking that because all the things I learned is just from the lecture, but I wish I can have more hands-on experience. And then I went to the lab for volunteering in the Utah State University. And then I in the lab, and then I started learn a lot of experiment skills, which is make me start to thinking that the research is actually it's more um, fun and interesting than just sitting in the classes. So and then it ended up me to be aware of doing research is really important for my future since if I am interested in biology or want to become a scientist. And then I start to search any research opportunity in the camp on the campus, and then I joined the SRI program. I'm not sure if you guys heard about that, but you take a lecture in the fall, and then they will match the lab to the next spring, I believe. And then being that lab, I having the opportunity to start like explore the real college research experiment compared to I may learn really basic stuff when I was in as the high schooler. And then after that, I think that pretty much start to build up the awareness of what is research is, and then make me want to continue with that.
Thank you for sharing, Ziting. What's great is being able to have you both share and realizing from an audience perspective, you have very different experiences. And so there's all different, you know, every person's path is going to be different for research. And you can basically start at any time. And like they say, it can be both Ziting and Jillian say, it could be a little bit like it could make you anxious or, feel like you're in a foreign place because you're not quite sure um, what you're doing, but it's open to everyone, and usually the faculty or people, if you show interest, then they want to help and they can, guide your research and help you learn. So thank you both for sharing like kind of what sparked your interest. So Jiting, share with us about your research project while you were part of the GSRM program.
So I am also still stay in the same lab right now. So I'm in the Dr. Chistani lab. Studying the expressions of the variants of one of the transcription factor in the human heart. Basically, what I did in the summer is so we found out there's a mutation in the transcription factor, which is will cause the atrial fibrillations. But we're not quite sure because the transcription factor have like 10 different variants, and then we're not sure like if there's a specific variants can contribute to the atrial fibrillations. Um, and that was my whole research question is if there's any variants or specifically have high expression level and then contribute to the human heart, like not contribute to express in the human heart and contribute to the atrial fibrillation. Um, and then after the whole summer, we found out some interesting variants, which is have high expression level, but since the project it's quite hard. So right now I was still continue with that project just to explore more mechanisms um, behind the disease and to see what kind of other possibility would be.
Great. Thank you, Jiting. Um, I want to point out something that she was saying that she's still in Dr. Tristani's lab. So there can be additional opportunities after the summer research internship experience is done. And there's usually um, a number of students who might be invited to stay, like say they're local in, local to Utah, and it's an in-lab, wet lab type of research. They can actually continue with the lab. Sometimes it will be paid, sometimes it might be unpaid, depending on their funding. And then there's actually two individuals from 2025 cohort who are continuing their computational genomic research from Florida and New York. So they're still working with the lab. So I thought that would be cool to share that you may you may have other opportunities, or the program itself can lead to other opportunities after the summer. All right, let's move to the next question. What did being part of the GSRM community mean to you, and which aspects of that experience had the greatest impact on your growth? Let's go with Jillian now.
Yeah. I was just going to share just a small about my research project as well.
Sure, please.
So I ended up in
Oh, I apologize. I
no,
I
it's good.
was I was jumping ahead. I apologize. Please share about your GSRM research project.
No, this is perfect. It all goes together. So I ended up in the Quinlan lab for my GSRM research internship, which is a computational genetics lab. This was entirely new for me. I've always worked in a wet lab, so it was very interesting transitioning into a dry lab where all we did was computer work and data analysis. So for my project, it was a completely brand new project for the summer. All of this data was untouched. So that was a little daunting to begin because I mean, I didn't really know a ton about it anyways, and no one in my lab did either. So it was kind of a cool experience, training ourselves kind of together and then like coming up with new ideas as we went along throughout the summer. So we looked at epigenetics, which, if you're unfamiliar, epigenetics are just any changes to DNA that don't actually affect the DNA sequence. So we were specifically looking at DNA methylation, which can affect gene expression. And so the dynamics of DNA methylation are pretty well studied, but there's not a ton of information about how they're inherited. So our research question was looking at how DNA methylation is inherited or passed down from parents to kids. And so we ended up using these very large pedigrees, and then we used a whole bunch of different like computational algorithms and calculations to determine the differences between parents and kids, and then kind of come up with a baseline for how much difference in methylation should be expected between generations. And so I just want to like kind of like continue into the next question. I loved my lab experience. I feel like this is the first time I've been in a lab where we had like independent researchers working together. And so everyone was from completely different backgrounds. And I think it just created just such an amazing collaborative and supportive environment. So I like the picture on the slide before was us going on a hike. That was like within my first week of the internship, which I just thought was so funny. But yeah, I really had a great time just in my lab environment itself. Kind of going along with my GSRM community, not only do you have your lab to support you, but you have both Gloria and Rebecca who are still supporting me to this day. And along with some of the friends that I've made in my cohort, I actually like still I'm getting lunch with one other girl that works at the Huntsman Cancer Institute, and I'm still like texting, keeping up with some of my other internship cohort buddies. But I think what was the most surprising was kind of the benefits and like the support that I've received after the internship. So not only was I able to attend 2 national conferences and to present my research at those, but I was also able to present at like a local genomics symposium, which just is every experience I have is just improving my scientific communication and making me a better professional. Additionally, just some of the networking. So I was able to be a program coordinator for a different summer internship this last summer through the University of Utah. And that was just because of a reference that I received from Gloria. And honestly, my current job that I have today is still through the Huntsman Cancer Institute, which is associated with the University of Utah. And there's no way I would be here without kind of getting those initial connections here at the University of Utah. And again, this is just continuing as I keep exploring grad school. Again, I am just so appreciative of everything that GSRM has offered, both during my 10 weeks there, but also like all of the support that I've received after the fact.
Thanks for sharing, Jillian. I appreciate it. Siting, what about you? What does being part of GSRM community mean to you?
So I completely agree what Jillian said about GSRM because you have to consider GSRM it's a community, and we always call GSRM family. It's just because that I think every people's in the GSRM were bond together and then really close to each other. Because community. So because when you get into the programs, the everyone's have the different lab, but you only will have one community, which is GSRM. So which being said that you guys will spend a lot of time hanging out with each other and then to speak what kind of the challenge you may have faced, especially people from out of state. So I think finding the sense of the belongings and there's a community behind you can support you was really important for me at least. And then that means a lot to me. And then so besides of the community, just also provide the clinical shadowing in the primary children hospital. So I think that was also a great opportunity because it's because my first shadowing internship um, is start it starting this summer, provided by GSRM and the connections. So I think that was a really great opportunity for people who are considering either want to go to nursing, PAs, or become a physician. Other than that, I will also want to highlight the workshops which is already hosted, because GSM will provide, so the programs will provide you a lot of resources to help you to better work through your research project. I remember because I was always working in the wet lab, and then I have no experience with the computational lab. So there's a workshop. It's helping, like, teaching the beginners who who can know how to code. So I think that workshop is really like really opened my eyes and helping me to learn some things I wouldn't learn in my lab.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Ziqing. Um, Back to Jillian. Last question. What advice would you offer these students who may just be starting their research journey?
Yes. This is probably just as much for you guys as it is for me, but my piece of advice is to be okay with feeling a little bit lost and a little bit uncomfortable. So I feel like, especially at this stage of your like career journey, there's a lot of unknowns, and that's like perfectly okay. You know, it doesn't seem like it at the time. Like, especially for me with my personality, I'm like such a planner that like it was really hard, and I understand how hard it is when like plans change and you don't have any influence over it, or even just like making those major decisions where it's like, okay, you know, there's a fork in the road. Which way do we go? And either way is probably fine, but you know, it's so hard in the moment to know exactly where your life is headed when you're just at, you know, just at the very start of it. So, um, I would say, yeah, just be okay with that feeling of being lost. I think some of my best experiences have come from just kind of like the random conversations I've had where like my mind has just been open to a new possibility or a new opportunity, like GSRM. I applied to it, but I didn't know that I would be accepted, or, you know, really that this would be continuing to be such a big influence on my life. Um, and so I would say it's okay to like to be at this stage. You know, just try any new things that come your way. You know, if there's a workshop, like go for it. You know, if you can learn something new about maybe a different career path or something in your area that you haven't explored yet, I think that's an amazing opportunity, because now's the time to learn. So if you can learn now, and then, you know, you don't have to make those decisions until later. And so um, any internship like this one is amazing, but there's also other great internships out there. Even just getting like that research experience, it's just an excellent foundation for continuing on in your professional career. Um, and so, you know, although it might not be part of the plan, sometimes the best things come when you try something new, you know, ask a silly question or just have one of those awkward conversations.
Thank you, Jillian. Ziqing, what advice would you offer?
Um, so so for just starting the research, I would say it you will feel really nervous when you met your mentor and your PI, and then especially in the first meeting. And then I would say ask questions. Don't be afraid of asking any of questions, because you have to know that you're the really beginner, and before you come to the lab, you know nothing about their knowledge. So it's it's totally fine to ask any of the questions, including those silly questions. Um, and then I would say just be open minded with the lab, because you never know like what kind of specific research, what type of research you end up with your rest of your life. So just don't put yourself in a certain directions or pathway, because you never know. So I will be open minded with any type of the research and the project, and then just to trying to learn the skills, and then develop the critical thinkings and research mindset will be more important than what kind of the research project you will get.
Thank you. That's a good point. Being open-minded. We appreciate that being a coordinator, being staff of the GSRM program. Um, I will say that we do try to match closely each individual student with their mentor, with their research mentor. We try to match in their interests or maybe what type of research you gravitate toward, and we put a lot of thought in that. Um, and sometimes there might be an opportunity to do something that you didn't have in mind, like Zatine said. So being open-minded, and I've had students literally come up to say, I I was only going to go this pathway, but then I discovered clinical research or I discovered computational research. Now I really love that. Now maybe I want to do MD and PhD. So, you know, you just keeping your mind open can be really great for more opportunities and more satisfaction in your pathway. Okay. We only have a couple more minutes, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this next slide where you guys can get these resources, but I would love to open it up while you can scan this. I would love to open it up to um, the audience in Idaho. What questions do you have of me or Ziting or Jillian? Please feel free to ask.
So applications close on the 31st. So what does the process kind of look like? When should we be expecting it to back?
Oh, I promise I did not feed anyone that question. So that was a great question. I went ahead and I'll send this PowerPoint to you too. But here are the milestones or deadlines along the way. So the deadline's on the 31st. Letters of request deadline for the recommenders is like a week after. We give a little buffer time for them to get those in. We will reach out to you mid to late February to schedule interviews, which will happen in early March. And then we'll send acceptance letters later that month. So hopefully that you have a time frame of when we will get back to you on different things, but we definitely we try to adhere closely to this. We also understand that there's a lot of juggling that can happen because there are maybe multiple programs you might be waiting to hear back from and that kind of thing. So we definitely are understanding of that, and we try to work with you if you need to know an answer or if you're waiting on something. Um, we are pretty responsive, is really what I want to say, and try to be responsive to individual needs because we know that most of you will be applying to multiple programs. Other questions?
I have another question, Rebecca.
Sure.
I haven't explored the online website,
hmm
and but is there a list on there of potential mentors and what they research, or is that all based off of like the letters of recommendation and the personal statement information?
That's a fantastic question. Let me show you. Um, we do have, and I just want to show you where it is on the site. So let me share this again. Oops, share. There we go. Okay. Can you see our website? Okay, so it's right here. If you click on Research Mentors, these are the ones that we had in this past year. So I would start there. And we actually ask each, when you get to the point of being accepted or given an offer, the next step is actually choosing, we ask you to choose 5 labs that you feel the research would be interesting to you or you want to learn about. And so what we do is we literally give you a uh, like a list of all the mentors we plan on having. A lot of these will carry over to this year. And then we'll give you like the website that they usually the lab has a website, most of them do. And then what their research is. And so that's also helps with you kind of us narrowing down, but also you to give us an idea of what your interest is.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? I know we're a few minutes over, but I'm happy to answer a couple more questions if there are any.
Other questions?
Do you
Any
have
other?
for like international students? Because I'm from Canada here on like a F1 visa. I was just wondering if you had to speak for that.
Okay, so international eligibility.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at this time we aren't able to offer spots to those who are international students. We have been considering in the future opening it up. It before it had everything to do with our funding, our funders and the NIH who requires US citizens, but now we have other funding sources, so that would be a possibility in the future. If you do want help to get, I did send in that prior slide, 2 slides, there's a database of research opportunities, and you can actually put in eligibility criteria in there. So my advice would be to go there, and it'll open up things that would be eligible for those who aren't citizens of the US or maybe have other status. So that's what I would recommend. And if you have issues with the search or need assistance, just reach out to me and I can help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rebecca, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and thank you especially to Ziting and Jillian for sharing their experiences. I'm passionate about what I do. I feel like this is one of the most rewarding things that I've ever gotten to do in a job because I get to assist other students and facilitate them having these experiences. So I will follow up and send information to Cody, and if you have questions, you can ask him or me, and just please reach out if you want.
I know that you mentioned that we had one BYU-Idaho application already come in.
We
And
do. We do.
there will be more. So,
I'm looking forward to seeing more.
thank you so much again, Rebecca. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.